we're going to start off with this little list here. I'm going to do everything up until drawings and documentation. The rest is just too much features that they added. They really went full, they went all out with this year, with 2024. So let's start with your user experience. Now, one big thing that they changed here is the ability to enable a setting that we call hardware accelerated silhouette edges. Now, this uses more of your GPU to render the edges for hidden lines removed and hidden lines visible display states. And you can see that big difference. For example, they made a little video over here showing you the performance increase, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's amazing what they did. So let's jump into parts and features. I'm going to show you a few things. This is our bowhead assembly that they were so kind of us to let us demo it, all of the new features. One of the biggest thing, I'm going to start with the biggest, is we have the ability to save back 2 years. So if I go to the normal save as option, I'm going to save it as a copy and continue. I have all of my other um, file types that I can export it as or save as. Now we have 2023 and 2022 as well. So you can save back up to 2 years, which is it's amazing. To me, that's an absolute game changer. You can also do it with prefixes, suffixes, anything you would like. That's amazing. Hey, then cylindrical bounding boxes. So previously we didn't have a way to get bounding boxes, which is basically the extent of the part, the biggest or the smallest form the part can fit in. Usually we didn't have cylindrical ones, we only had the rectangular ones. So if I go to my reference geometry and I select bounding box, you'll see this is what we had previously. With 24, I can now select cylindrical, and I can even select a custom plane to align it perfectly. So that's a very cool one for me. Back to the assembly. I've got one enhancement that really saves a lot of time, especially if you're working with linear patterns. So if I open this part, we want to create a little bit of a lighter version of it. So they were so kind enough to create a configuration for me, and we need to pattern this left and right. So we're going to do a normal linear pattern, and my features, I'm going to select this. Now you'll see, usually, as per usual, we can set our distances, our instances, all of that fancy stuff, even up to references. But now we have the option to select symmetric, because usually you would have to do the same exact thing on the other side to get it to mirror over. Now we can just use symmetric. It's literally as easy as that. It's a single click and we're done. So that's an amazing time saver. So like I said, especially if you're using patterning a lot. Okay, so back at the assembly, we've got this view over here. Just want to expose a specific part. This bracket over here, we need to cut in some holes. We're going to use the hole wizard to do that for these countersunk screws. Now, big change to sketching and the hole wizard. You see, if I just go and I draw a normal stock standard center point rectangle, if I now click on this, on the line or the entity, it's going to give me the dimension as a preview. Not only that, I can literally just click it, add my value, and we're done. Now, do this with any entity, so it's automatically going to do basically what the smart dimension does when you select the two entities, and then still use my constraints. Now that to me is amazing. That is going to improve your sketching like 3 times or tenfold. Okay, so now we're going to use the hole wizard. So first off, everything seems normal. You still got your standards, all of your bunch of sizes, through holes, all of that. The new thing comes in with positions. Now I have the option to use an existing 2D sketch. I don't need place them manually using the hole wizard feature. I can predefine a sketch for it. If I select my sketch, look at that. That's very cool. It really, what it does, it's taking the endpoints of all of these entities and it's placing the holes there. Not only that, I can skip the instances as well. And it's literally as easy as that. Go back to the assembly, you'll see the changes. And again, it's productivity, it's efficiency, it's, oh, do the wrong one. But you get the point. And then multi-body parts. Now, a lot of our clients work with multi-body parts, and they use that basically to calculate the overall weight when it comes to the with the fillets, the fillet beads, welds, all of that fancy stuff. With 24, we have the option to make a multi-body part directly from an assembly. Just like that. We can see what we can transfer over. We can do surface body, axes, planes, coordinate systems, and materials. I'm going to do the surface bodies and materials. I can even break the link to the original assembly. So this is basically now turning around that save bodies command, where we can create a assembly from a multi-body. Now we can create a multi-body from an assembly, which is, I think, is very cool. You can see our surfaces and our bodies have been brought in with the material. So let me just, I'm going to create a bracket for this, a fixture. So if we go to my surfaces, normal, stock, standard, can remove those and give it a thickness. Sorry, just want to keep this one. There we go. So I'm going to give it a thickness, let's say 2 mils, and it's as easy as that to design fixtures. This makes it so much easier, especially when it comes to your welding. So first, before I do that, everything stays in sync. If I go to this sketch, if it loads, and I change anything on the assembly itself, it will propagate through to the multi-body part as well. So you can have these fixtures. You'll always be sure that it's up to date. It is the latest. Everything will fit perfectly. And then again, you can add your little well beads. If I add a 3 mil, like that. Okay, and you'll see we have a beautiful cut list where I can go to my fillet bead, add the material I need, and I'm on my way. It's very accurate methods basically for your multi-body parts. Right, so just a recap again, save as previous release. This works with parts, assemblies, and drawings. The beautiful thing is it carries over all of the parts. So for example, if you save an assembly or drawing, it's basically going to act like a little bit of a pack and go. So it will take all of the other parts and convert it to the previous release as well. Then flip side to cut for revolves, we have a new feature or option that you can tick, like a cut extrude, where you can flip the side to cut, so it cuts everything away. You can now do that for revolves as well. Very useful. The cylindrical bounding boxes, sketch dimension previews. That's going to increase your sketching tenfold. You can almost guarantee that. Hole wizard, awesome 2D sketch where you can pre-select that, pre-create it. A symmetrical linear pattern. Surface modeling, I didn't show that, but there's an improvement there that's going to help with shut-off surfaces as well. Very easy to create. So go and check that out in the What's New PDF. And then the multi-body part as well. Now there are some things that you have to tick on before you want to use these features. So first of all, to use the sketch dimension preview, you need to activate the option. So it is an option under your system options. You just need to turn that on. And then the save as previous release, you have to make sure before you save it back to a previous release that there aren't any features that was created in the newer release. For example, this flip side to cut in the revolve can't be carried over to 2023 or 2022 because the code isn't there. Okay, but yeah, you can use all of the fillets. It's a normal SolidWorks part, which is absolutely amazing. And here's just a few benefits that I explained for making or working with multi-body parts. Right, moving on to sheet metal and structure systems. This I'm very excited for as well. They have made a very, very cool change um, that I'm very, very excited for. Okay, so first off, just open this one. Gonna show the entire assembly, and you'll see what the idea is over here. They want to be able to flip this down. They're gonna drive it up and lock into these slots. The bike now. Um, so this is basic sheet metal and weldments. Or well, I'll show you later. It's not weldments, it's structure systems. So I'm gonna work on this guy first. Okay, first thing is you'll see that they worked with tab and slot features over here. Now, let's copy this guy over. So I'm going to right click on that guy, copy with mates. This is the stock standard copy with mates. It's always been in SolidWorks. Very, very useful, by the way. And it's copied over. But the thing is, these sides do not have the tab and slot feature. So previously you had to go and you have to create that tab and slot feature manually in the part. Now I can simply right click on that part and I can say propagate slots. I want to do that for all instances, say okay, and there we go. It's literally as easy as that. So the productivity, they really, really focused on the productivity and the efficiency in this version. Okay, now one of my favorite features of sheet metal is the stamp tool. So with your sheet metal, you now have the option for a stamp. I can take any sketch and I can turn it into a forming tool. And we all know forming tools. It can be a little bit of a hassle to create them, especially if you work with sheet metal a lot. It's a little bit of a hassle to create them like for a once-off feature or something like that. Now we can take any shape of closed contour sketch that we want. We don't just have to do rectangles or sketches. We can do pretty complicated sketches as well, which is very, very cool. And as you see how it changes and updates immediately as I'm going through, I added 10 more there. It's going to add a 15. Gonna punch the side radius in, also 10. Say okay, and there's my stamp. It's no need to use any forming tools, create forming tools, nothing. It's literally just as easy as stamping it in. And then to finish this off, it's again a stock standard feature of SolidWorks, sketch-driven pattern. I can pattern that guy, and we're done. As easy as. And there's a other feature as well. I'll show that later. Well, I'm not going to show it, but it is also very cool. For now, I'm going to focus on the frame of it. So everybody is familiar with weldments, but weldments is getting kind of old now, and they haven't updated in a few years, so they stopped developing it. The new thing on the block is structure systems. It's a little sorry, I'm going to give a little bit of a demo for structure systems as well because I think it's a little bit underutilized at the moment. So I just go into my structure system environment. Immediately choose my primary members. You'll see it's very much the same as Weldments itself. It just has a lot more control. So I can select my profiles, materials, all of that stuff. Go to member, and now I have a lot more options. I have a lot more freedom of what I can select to create the weldments. So for example, I have two surfaces. I can create just the two surfaces, and all of these members are added automatically. I can say, okay, you can still do it with the normal 3D sketches as well, if you'd like, but you just have a lot more freedom of the design. So again, secondary member profile is set. Now I can press Q, by the way, that's a shortcut that they added in 23 to show all of my planes. And all I have to do now is select them. Anywhere those planes intersect with the model itself, it's going to create a beautiful little member for me. Now again, I can still select everything, delete them, and change them as needed. The new feature comes in when I exit the structure systems, when I go to the corner treatment. Now we have the automatic grouping of corners. So it's going to take all of these corners. So for example, these similar corners, it's going to automatically group them, and they're going to apply the same corner treatment as the first one you choose, basically. which makes it just a lot easier. We also have a new type of corner treatment. So for example, if I go to my two member over here and have a look at this guy, we have our stock standard ones. I'm just going to give a little bit of a gap there just to show you a bit more clearly. We have our different types, stock standard ones up to a mitre as well. But now we have what we call an open corner. So this open corner will help you with when you have bolt connectors or connecting with bolts. Um, I'll show you later in the main assembly what I mean about that. So if I change it over here, see I can just say okay, and all of my parts, or sorry, all of my members have been grouped accordingly and applied the corner treatment. Perfect. And I believe that's it for weldments. This is what I mean by the open corner. You have this bolt connections, corner connector. Sometimes it just works out cheaper. Sometimes it's more structurally valid to use these type of corners. And now it's easier than ever to add them. So stamp tool, we can propagate slots. Again, the stamp tool is just so cool for me. I love it. We have the rip command enhancements. We now can do cylindrical and conical surfaces to rip and create your sheet metal parts way easier for transferring solid bodies to sheet metal bodies. Sorry, tripping over my words. We have the automatic corner grouping in structure systems, new corner treatments, the open butt, and then unit properties. We can actually mix in different type of units in the cutlass, in the weldment cutlass, where we can choose if it's going to be millimeter or inch or whatever, and we can manually add that to it. It's just there's a lot more clarity to it. Assemblies. Okay, so again, let me just get this open. With assemblies, there are it was hard to choose which feature I should show or which features to cut out on this one because I love it. It's really, really cool. Hey, so we're gonna start by I'm just gonna open this one as well, make things a little bit easier. So an enhancement with the insert components. But go insert components, select what part I want. And in my configuration, I can now see the description. Previously, the description wasn't pulled through. So you basically had to work on the configuration name and the part number. And it can get a little bit confusing sometimes. So now it actually brings in the description as well. So again, less mistakes. And then at the bottom here, you'll see we have three new options. We have only fix first component, fix, and float. Now, this is when you insert any component that you want. You can keep it on the default that only fixes the first component you bring into your new assembly, or you can have it always fixed or always float. And these are sticky buttons, so it will stay as a default as well. Just going to click to place this guy down and start mating. Now, I'm going to use normal stock standard techniques for SolidWorks by holding Alt, dragging it, and using my Control Select to add it as well. There we go. Now, another enhancement they made with the mates is the width mate. So if I go to my mate dialog, it's under advanced and then width mate. My width selections 1, they just changed the name. It's not width and tab anymore. It's just width 1 and width 2. They made it so much easier to basically calculate the width mate. So sometimes there was specific cases where it didn't calculate correctly and it would bomb out. It was a situation. Now it solves automatically very, very quickly and a lot more stable, a lot more repeatable performance from the width mate. And then we have a few new constraints that we can use. And there we go. That's that done. So when I go over to this view, I can bring in our fasteners. Because one of the new enhancements, as everybody knows, you can use reusable geometry or reusable parts. We have specific mate references that you can simply drag and drop and it will snap to it. Very, very nice and useful tool. And now with 24, we have a little bit more stable I can say stable type of references where it's going to be much easier to capture those references. you'll see here I have a create mates only when names match option. Now this will make it a lot, like I said, sorry, I'm saying it a lot, but it makes it a lot more repeatable, a lot more stable when you drag and drop it in. If there's the same mate entity or mate reference here, it's going to snap to that very, very easy. Also, a little option is this lock rotation. And you'll see this when I hold down control, drag it, look how fast it snaps. It's really, really amazing. Even though I drag and dropped it there, you'll see that I have this option, these options as well. Now it automatically picks up that name of the reference in this part, and it will just snap to it very, very easily. Again, it's a lot more repeatable. Okay, so that's the one thing. One of the biggest for me is the step preview. So I have a step file. A lot of our clients have huge step file assemblies that they need to import, and the thing is then they only use a certain part of that assembly. So I just enable that filter in my options dialog, and you'll see how quickly it shows. So it hasn't generated a preview yet because I only want to work with this part over here. This is a specific part number that I want. I can say generate 3D preview, and what it's doing is it's literally just doing a graphical representation. It's not importing any of the other assemblies, nothing. And you can see this is the correct one I want. I'm going to say import model. Now, beauty about this thing is it's not importing the whole assembly. It's running only on that single file you chose. So the import times are ridiculously improved. It really is amazing. Okay, through again into configuration components, you have a few options there: fixed floating. The descriptions are getting pulled through. Width mate selection, a lot more stable. Enhanced mate references, the component references. Rule-based D feature, I'm not going to show this specifically, but it's very cool. So sometimes you have IP that you need to protect when sending it off to a manufacturer. They don't have to see the entire assembly. You can defeature it, which basically creates like a dummy model, which doesn't have any details of what you have. And you can set up a rule list basically to go and look for custom properties or things like that. But it's really, really cool. Go and check it out, the PDF. Again, previous release. What I want to show actually as well is you can do the previous release saving from a pack and go as well. So you go file, pack and go. You'll see here, we can still normal pack and go, include drawings, simulations, toolbox components. Now I have this option, save to previous version of SolidWorks. Now I can choose 22 or 23, which is awesome. I can save it to a zip file, prefix, suffix, everything. It's incredible. Yeah, I think you can tell that I'm excited about that one. And then we have a few others as well. Now there's defaults that you can set when you mirror components or copy components. Then I usually have like a prefix of say copy of or mirror or whatever. You can now set that as a standard. If you have a standard naming convention, you can set the prefix and suffixes um, custom or as a default basically. Then drawings and documentations. Not a lot that they added here, but what they added is awesome. Again, just gonna close these and open this. So I'm gonna show you on this specific part and add just one or two ordinate dimensions. Select these. There we go. Now what I can do is you'll see when I highlight it, it highlights the entities to which it's attached. So previously, you couldn't see what the dimension is attached to. And in very complicated parts with a lot of holes or what have you, it's difficult to notice, to know exactly what that dimension is attached to. Now they've made it so easy to just highlight over the dimension, and it's going to tell you exactly to what entity, what edge um, it's referring to. which is pretty cool. Now we all have that one guy in the office that is a little bit lazy. He overwrites the dimensions. So that 44.25 is actually supposed to be 44. So I'm just going to overwrite it. I'm going to change it to 44. This guy as well, it had to be 58, as per normal. Now we can actually see what dimensions are overridden. So again, the mistakes is going to fall away at an incredible pace here. So you can see what color it changes into. By the way, you can change this color in the settings, like a bright green or something you can't miss. Uh, so yeah, now you can see that way easier. And changing it back to your original value as well, just control select them, right click, say restore original value. And there we go. Okay, another big thing that they changed is with regards to notes. Lack of productivity increase. So I'm just going to take a standard, also on this view, take a standard note, add it, and we all link our properties. So we're going to go here to link property, model found here, and let's say part number. Now, this is the normal way, so far so good. But usually or previously, you had to say okay, and you had to do that entire process again to add different ones. Now we can concatenate them way easier because we can simply say add. I can say this, part description, add, and I can say, let's almost say wait. And there we go. It's as easy as that. Again, it's a real performance increase. It's about efficiency. And obviously, as you expect, it's going to change um, everything's going to keep linked. Now, a common issue is dangling dimensions. So for example, if I change this configuration, then you'll see I have dangling dimensions here because it lost a reference to the mates, or rather to the entities that might have been removed or added during the configuration, during the changes you made in the configuration. They've made it easier than ever to reattach them. So you right click on that dimension, the dangling dimension, and you say reattach. It's going to show you very, very clearly. If I hit G for the magnifying glass, you'll see very, very clearly what it's looking for and where it was. So now I can simply select it and it's reattached. Same with this one, right click, reattach, choose my new entity, and it's done. It's as easy as that. I'm going to show you it again. Save as, I'm going to select save as a 22 drawing, and I can choose to include all my reference components. Like I said, prefix, suffix. It's just amazing. Sorry, I showed that one a lot, but it's one of my favorites. So yeah, again, collinear chain dimensions. As you can see from this image, it adds. It basically pops out that dimension. So there's no need to go back and reorder the ordinate dimension. So it's a lot more. How can I say, a lot more stable or repeatable behaviors. Then reference entities being highlighted, which is awesome, reducing mistakes. Overridden dimensions, you can see exactly what has and what hasn't. Remember, the overridden dimensions does not update with the part again. So a lot of mistakes can be made. And then save as previous version as well. Keep links property open, efficiency, and reattach the dangling dimensions. Now, that is it from me. Those are all of my favorites. I hope they become your favorites as well. And yeah, go and check out the What's New. Like we said, there's a lot of new features. So go ahead and check them out and get excited for 24. Thanks, guys.